How would you describe how you are feeling at the moment?
Kind of I'm still feeling nervous, like, because it really affected me, my sleep, can hardly sleep 5 to 6 hours, not even to 6 hours a day. Any little sound, I wake up and it's like buildings collapsing again, and I wake up and like with shock again. So, as in, not being myself since then, since the incident, I've not really been myself since then.
When did you join the project itself, the 21-story building Ikoyi project?
Joined them on September 6th this year.
Okay, you didn't start with the
No, I
project?
didn't start with the project.
Okay.
So
Where had they gotten to?
they've got into the 24th floor.
21st floor?
Yes.
Okay.
So they've decked it and it remains plastering and some electrical plumbing work. So we only called to plaster since the electricals too have started working. The electricians have started working, so we are called to plaster the walls.
So your role was to plaster the
Walls,
the
yes.
walls?
Yes.
Okay. The entire floors?
The entire floors from 1 to 21 first.
Okay.
So before I got called by the person who got the contract, about 4 floors have been plastered. That is floor number 5, floor number 7, and floor number 10. Okay, 3 floors have been plastered. So when I got there, we were able to plaster floor number 15, 16, 17, 9, and the columns of floor number 18 only.
Okay.
So, and we started like, how do I put it? So the contract, like from the ground to the top, to just to plaster everything. So
Okay.
as anyone we finish, any flat we finish, any floor we finish, we get paid. So
That was the
that's
arrangement.
actually-
Like,
that's
how many
arrangement.
of you are you working on it?
The previous week, we were about 45 working on that building.
Okay.
That's talking about
That's the workers,
workers for mason.
generally, for mason.
Mason, big layers that are plastering only.
Okay.
We have electricians, plumbers separate. I don't take record of those ones.
Okay, so the previous week it was 45.
About 45 years.
Okay.
We have about 30 bricklayers, 15 laborers.
Okay.
So working there previously. But that particular Monday, something happened that previous week, so some left. So the Monday, we are not up to that number.
Okay, the Monday when the building caved in.
Yes.
All right, we'll get to that morning, but before we talk about the day the building actually caved in, what's work routine like on a daily basis? Like when you guys wake up, what's the usual routine?
When we wake up, sometimes we start work as early as 4, 5 o'clock. So the laborers do gather bag the sand, bag the sand and take it up with the hoist. In fact, I still have the hoist. I drive the hoist to the floor they want to work. So we deliver I help them to get the sand up there alongside the laborers. So by 8 o'clock, they start mixing. By 9, they finish mixing. 9, 10, they finish mixing, and the bricklayers I call them up to do their work. So
okay, so you are more like a team lead for
yes,
the plastering. For the plastering. All right. Now, in terms of safety, how would you say safety protocols and guidelines was on site?
Actually, everything looks safe there, and the engineers wear helmet and boots. But we bricklayers, sometimes if you give us helmets, especially as in helmets, like inside this kind of no. In fact, maybe 95% we reject helmets and boots. They don't like it.
Okay.
So,
but it was provided.
It was provided.
Okay.
It was provided.
How about materials for the work? Was it was the right amount, the quantity that probably was needed? Was it provided, or at some point you were told to improvise? And
The
were
materials,
materials scarce at
no,
any time?
in fact, we had more than enough materials, more than enough, and we weren't limited to use, like maybe you have to use this particular.
There was nothing like
no,
rationing.
no. Use as much as you need.
Use
for
as
the-
much as you need.
There's materials on ground, cement, sand, whatever, water. As the materials, enough.
Okay. So what like how many hours do you work in a day?
We close sometimes, depends on the thickness of the wall, of some walls and particular floor. Some walls takes about 6 hours, some takes about 12 hours to plaster. It depends on the thickness of the wall. So sometimes we close at 7, sometimes we close at 5, and sometimes we close at even 1 p.m. And it depends on how fast the person plastering the wall is.
Yes.
Depends on how fast the person is and how thick that particular place is plastering is.
Okay. So you said most of the time when you had to do overnight, you slept on the 3rd floor.
No, we don't do overnight. That's
Okay.
just where we sleep. Like
Okay. You just sleep
we
there.
sleep there. In fact, since I've been working there, that is where I sleep.
Okay.
We have like those places that we yet to work. We've yet to plaster number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
So those places we sleep there. We have our beds, our bags, our gas cooker. It's just more or less like a home to us. So that is where we sleep.
Let's talk about you personally. I mean, you're a graduate of economics.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you did your NYC in Imo State.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you eventually are working in the construction field. How did that happen?
After graduating and serving, I tried to get a job, and after about some months, about 6 months, I got a job actually in the microfinance bank, but I worked there for 4 months. I couldn't continue because my salary was equal with the transport, with my transportation. So I tried getting another job, but then I could not. So, and I remember how I survived back in the university. I do work in site as a laborer in the university. So I decided to go back into that labor that, okay, I can, this urgent 2K, because, you know, this 2K, I can still make 2K per day. And if I get to work 3, 4, 5, or 6 days in a week, I can make up to 12,000 naira in a week. And that would be better than the 20,000 a month I was being paid in the microfinance bank. So I started working as a laborer, but then I saw these guys I was serving, I was mixing concrete for and mixing sand for. You know, these guys are very good here from Benin Republic, and they are very good. So I told one of them I would like to learn the work. So he decided to train me. In fact, the person who agreed to train me is the building too.
The person who agreed to train you worked on the building too?
Floor number 12.
Floor number 12.
I got a call on Tuesday that we lost him. They saw his body on Tuesday the following day.
What's his name?
Dangija, Christian.
So sorry about that. Can you just run us through the morning of that day? How it happened, way into when the building itself collapsed?
The morning started like without sign of something like that going to happen. No, we all started work. I woke up and went to meet, as in, that weekend before that day, I didn't sleep in sight. I went home on Saturday night. Then on Monday morning by 6:30, I was already inside from Ablegba. So first person I met was the person who trained me. Like, okay, these are the list of people we have inside now. I gave him the list to look, and then if there's any addition of people that I know that are not on the list. So, and then how to share the work, which room they will plaster on that floor number 12. And we have to plaster the fence too. There's a place, as in the right side of the fence, to the person who collected the cutlass, that is my boss now, asked us to plaster that place too. So I was around that, between that 6:30 and 7, we were even talking about who will be there and who will be in number 12. And then there's a new contract on that faith building, different from the building that collapsed. So who we are going to post there. So I shared it and I showed him, is it okay? And he said, okay. So after sharing them to their various places, work started. And till around noon, then 1 o'clock, I decided to go get lunch. So I bought my food, took it back to the building that collapsed. That is number 3, that my room. I took my lunch there.
Okay, so you bought your food, took it to the 3rd floor to eat that same day?
That same day.
Around 1?
Around 1.
In the afternoon, okay.
In the afternoon. So, I used the stairs, I didn't use the hoist. I used the stairs down. Then I discovered that we don't have plaster sand, and I don't like it when we don't have enough plaster sand on ground.
Okay, plaster sand?
Yes, on ground, to be bagged.
Okay.
Because it's going to affect, as in, the work of the bricklayer. If they didn't see plaster sand, they will stop where the ones they have up there is. So, and it will be shortage on us, because we're still going to pay them their full pay. So I discovered there's no plaster sand, and I called the first guy Monday to help me get some. He drives the tractor. So he's going to use the tractor to take this plaster sand from where we have it at the back to the front, to where the hoist is. So he said he's busy, that he won't be able to help me do that. So I called down that guy who agreed to help me. So as the guy was reversing the tractor, I wasn't far from the pillar. I just had the cracked sand. Looking at my right, I saw the beam, like, I don't know. So I just took it off from there, as in, it not even up to 3 seconds, between 3 and 4 seconds. Like, everything came down.
So the pillar beside where you are standing cracked and tore apart?
It cracked, and cracking, it led to the beam. There's a beam at the left wing of the building.
You were on the ground floor anyway?
I was on the ground floor.
Okay.
But not directly under the building. I was like, the building was just about 5 feet from me. So, because that is where the hoist is.
Okay.
And I was ready for the guy to bring the plaster sand. I have guys that will help me to bag it and load the hoist. The hoist key is even in my pocket here. So with the key, I drive it up. The other person, or the person that bag the sand, we offload it. The sand.
You said you have the hoist in your pocket?
The hoist key, the key.
The key, okay.
Yes. So I have the hoist key here.
That's the key to the hoist?
That drives? Yes. That carries the load up. So I was just waiting for them to load, so I go up with the hoist to offload the sand there. When I had the cracked sand.
How about the guy that was driving? Was he caught up to, or do you know anything about his whereabouts?
I didn't see him since then. It was the first person I called. I saw, but with broken arm later.
Was with a broken arm later?
The first person I saw, he wasn't in the building too.
Okay.
He was beside the fence. The fence that is, yeah, it was beside the fence when I called him. So, but not in the building, not directly under the building. So the building fell, and all those things that fell down, that came down, met him there, where he was. And that was what broke his hand. He was unconscious when I saw them carrying him too. But the guy reversing the tractor, I didn't see him till I left.
Okay.
For 3 hours, I was looking for him, looking for my boss, that is the one that trained me, looking for some other two guys too. I was just calling their name. No one could answer.
Like how many people do you have any idea of the number of people, at least in your own, well, I use the word department right now,
Okay.
that were working when the building caved in?
Floor number 12, I have about 18.
18.
On number 12.
Just on floor number 12.
Number 12, I have about 18. Because that is where as in, number 12, I have about 18. Number 14th floor, we have about 10 there too. But they are not directly under me.
Okay.
My boss, the person who asked me to supervise those work, subcontracted that contract, the plastering work to another person on that floor number 12, floor number 14. So they are about 12 or 10 too. But on my own floor, we are about 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since then, do you know how many like probably survived?
From that particular building, none of those there survived. The only ones that survived that are under me are those that are fake that I sent to the fence to plaster the fence, and those that I sent to plaster the plaster number 11th of Faith building. Those are the two groups that survived.
Let's talk about the owner or the developer. That's Mr. Femi Oshibano. How would you describe his person?
He's someone I know to be nice. Within the 2 months I spent there, he's a very nice and kind man, but he has principles. Like when it was work to start on sites, as in other sites out there, you can wake up at 7 o'clock. Then the laborers work first, as in they measure the sand and they mix. Then by 9:30 they throw mixing, and then we bricklayers start working at 9:30 to 4. But Mr. Femi said no, he doesn't want that. At first he said 3:30, everyone wakes up. So I tried to explain to that these guys, when they work morning till evening, probably around 6 or 7, they get tired, and it will be difficult for them to wake up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. He said no, that if anyone that cannot do that, they should leave the site. So that is the only thing, part of him that I'm not comfortable with. Although we try to adjust to 5 o'clock, but later when I see that, okay, I try to bring a new idea. Instead of waking up at that 4:30 or 5, the Sunday to measure tomorrow, I employed another person to do the measuring of the sand. So it's different from the laborer that reserve the bricklayer. So the person will measure the sand a day before, so that they can still have enough rest and wake up their number at 7 o'clock to start work. So, but apart from that area, that we should be waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. In other areas.
So apparently you on some occasions you dealt directly with him. You related directly with him on some occasions.
Almost every day, most especially when you have a buyer or a friend or someone prominent in the site. So like the other day, that particular day when Mr. Wale Bob Oseni came around, it was just like the other time when one of the kings in Oyo State came around. If he saw me, he called me. That is how he does. When he has a buyer, because the buyer may want to change one or two things, plans in the flat apartment. So the 3 engineers will follow him. That is the 2 engineers, Mr. Femi Oshibano and the buyer. Then I will follow him with my book. So if there's any changes they want, maybe it's already plastered place. If they want, maybe they want us to create a door, as in somewhere.
An entry. So there was always constant modification.
Yes.
Ongoing. As prospective clients come in to their taste.
Constant modification on every.
Okay. And also in terms of, did he at any point try to cut corners?
No, when it comes to materials, he didn't try to cut corners at all. As in, he doesn't. If I doesn't, I don't know if he knows anything much about materials. All his own is that before the materials finish, there should be more than enough. In fact, we've already had more than enough from day one. Talking about cement, it's more than enough. Iron, more than enough. When you want to cast maybe the linted, there's nothing like using short iron or you're managing iron. No, you use thick iron, strong one for the linted. So you don't manage iron for him, you don't manage cement for him.
That's his principle.
That is his principle. We don't manage for him.
Okay. While you were, working on that site, did then at any point in time the government officials visit?
Maybe they did, and I'm not aware of. I may not know them to be government officials, except if they wear uniform that they're government officials. But maybe they didn't come within the 2 month period that I spent there. They might have been coming when the pillars and columns and beams were being casted and consulted, but during plastering, I didn't see any.
Concerning also in terms of the number of people on site per day, is there like a roster that people sign, a manifest that people sign every morning to account for the amount of people on site per day? Are you aware?
Generally, no.
Okay.
So, but at the bricklayer side,
Okay.
I have a record.
You have your own personal record.
Record.
Okay. You said about how many per day, like on a give and take?
For that particular month, previous week we were about 45.
Okay.
We were 45. But on that Monday, we were about 30.
On that Monday,
altogether.
30.
On that Monday, 30. Between 30 and 35 on that Monday. So I have the names written in a book on my bed, as in on the stuff where I sleep there.
Okay.
So my plan was that I've already ticked them, as in those that are around, those that are working. I've already ticked them. So my plan was that by 5 o'clock, I will go around again to check what they did with my plumb and range, and to see an angle to confirm if it is well squared, the angles well squared. So by 5 o'clock, that's what I do. Go around, check, then we confirm that, okay, this person completed his work, that is, and he did it perfectly. So that is the only roster we have. But I don't know for the aluminium guys or for the electricians, of the plumbers, I don't know if they have them, but we have.
You spent a good amount of time in the building when you started the project. Were there signs of maybe sudden tremors, probably in terms of the strength of the building? Were there moments when you felt certain vibrations, and you worried about it?
The building never vibrated, as in nothing like vibration there. 3 weeks before it happened, I was worried about some things I saw. I told a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, that I won't last there, that latest by December, second week of December, I'm going to leave the site. I saw something that shouldn't be.
Honestly, from your own candid opinion, what do you think went wrong?
The load.
The load.
The load. When I saw, for my first week there, because I don't know, maybe because I studied economics or maybe because I'm kind of educated, but when I got there, I was like, let me know some things about this. I can't meet the engineers because engineers, all of them see me as a bricklayer, so they can't see me as someone educated or an economist or whatever. So to meet them, because the way they relate with us, like, so I took my phone, I googled, I pressed 21-story building. Then I pressed 15-story building because we have two 15-story buildings there. So I googled 21-story building, Ikoyi. Then that is when I got to see the face of the man at first. I saw a video, I saw pictures. Then I now discovered in that when I read about the 21-story building, what I read in Google before they started building it at all, it was said to be 15-story building in 3 places. So that is what I saw when I Googled. But looking at it, looking at the building now, I'm seeing 2 15-story building and then one to be 21. So I felt the load, that is the 6 floors extra load, might have been the cause. And beside, these ones, engineers will understand this particular one. The plastering is thick, like some plastering, some walls are thick as 9 inches, are taking 9 inches thickness to plaster because of the square. Like when they were setting the block, we didn't set the block. Ours is to plaster the wall. So when they were setting the block, like the squaring and the measurement were not accurate, as in the bricklayer setting the block then did not give into details, like follow the details, 5.6 centimeter should be 5.6 centimeter. It shouldn't be 5.7 or 65 centimeter, as in. So it affected the rooms, the sitting room, the kitchen. So some wall, for the tiles to be squared, some walls will be taking like 9 inches thickness. Now this is not reinforcement. It's not reinforcing anything. It's just an extra load on the beam. And that particular place that is taking this 9 inches thickness, normally it shouldn't cost more than 4 bags of cement to plaster that wall. But because it's taking as much as 6 to 9 inches thickness, sometimes we need like 15 bags of cement.
What?
To plaster that particular wall, because that is how it is. Like, since the wall is thick, now when you plaster, maybe when you first plaster the first round, in an hour's time you start using dry cement to dry it up. Now the weight of the dry cement is staying on the wall. You add more sand again, you add another dry cement to make sure it stays, because when you have to finish that particular wall by then. We have time limit, as in we're giving like sometimes a week to finish 2 floors. I mean, to finish 1 floor of 8 rooms each, apart from the BQ and then the sitting room. So the thickness, some walls, especially the walls that in the kitchen, from the floor number 5 up to next 17, they're taking too much thickness that sometimes just like, sir engineer, we have to break this wall and we set it to be squared. But if we break it and try to make it squared, the square is just like if we are diverting the thickness to the other side of the room. So the thickness, that is
so
what.
the building, you feel that the load the building was carrying was just too much.
The load the ground pillars were carrying was too much
The ground
for it.
pillars was carrying was too much for the entire building. Let's come to you now. So what next? Do you see yourself going back into that line of work, or do you want to pursue what you read in school?
I like to go for the later part, like work as an economist. Like when I was in school, I never knew that I will finish after about 6 years for ND and BSc, and then go and learn bricklaying and be working as a bricklayer. No, never came to my mind. It was condition that took me to that condition, that made me to be a bricklayer. So if I have offer, like I've applied for 2 jobs now since then, because since working as a bricklayer, I couldn't apply. Some that I applied, the age limit, minimum 23, maximum 27 years old, and I'm 32. So age is not on my side to apply for jobs. So I've been able to apply for 2, not regarding the age limit on those jobs. So if I get the job aside bricklaying work, I will. But since that Monday, I've not been able to work. Like even that particular week, in fact, I couldn't work. Someone called me to work at Edo State. Told the person I can't. I will do rubbish for him if I try to, because as in mentally I wasn't okay that last week. But this week another called me and I told him I will come around. That should just give me some time. You know, so by God's grace, if I may resume that one, it's a plastering work too. On Monday, I told him on Monday I will come around to work.
Okay.
So, but if I get a something related to economics that I study, in fact, I will gladly take it up. Like,
And do that
and
one
do that.
instead.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much
Thank
for your time.